Good morning, I'm Dick Kay.
And I'm Derrick Blakley. Welcome to City Desk.
I wish I didn't have to go this route, but this is the only route you have.
I hope we don't get hung up on the insistence that we do something special for Chicago that we're not doing for any other school district in the state.
The school budget battle heats up as Mayor Daley introduces casino gambling as part of his plan to save Chicago schools. That's the subject this morning on City Desk.
The mayor's plan is a complicated one that involves the teachers, the governor, the legislature, and you, the taxpayer. But before we introduce our guests, let's first bring you up to date on the mayor's proposal. Mayor Daley offered a plan to open schools that depends on riverboat gambling in Chicago and teachers' union concessions. He wants the state to borrow $300 million for Chicago schools over 2 years. The bonds would be paid off with a $6 admission fee from Chicago riverboats.
Requires a special session in August. And I underline that in August to authorize the borrowing plan, the casinos, and other cost-saving actions. Why should we wait until when the kids can't go back to school?
The mayor also wants big union concessions. He wants school employees to contribute 2% of their salaries for medical benefits, to give up $10 million in bonuses they receive for taking courses, and he wants high school teachers to extend their teaching day by 80 minutes, which would eliminate 1,000 teaching positions. Governor Edgar said there's no need to call a special session till everyone, including the unions, have agreed to a plan. And he opposes state borrowing for Chicago schools.
History proves in the past the school district has the one that has to guarantee those bonds. I hope we don't get hung up on the insistence that we do something special for Chicago that we're not doing for any other school district in the state.
It is the state responsibility.
School employees we talked with say they can't afford insurance payments and other concessions.
Is the mayor interested in having his salary go down when everything else is going up?
And one local school council president had this warning.
If they don't open the schools in September, we'll close the loop, meaning we'll come and have class in City Hall and take over the city council chambers, if necessary, the state of Illinois building, so they can really come together.
Although Governor Edgar says Mayor Daley's plan is a positive step, he disagrees with a call for a special session right now. Edgar says that's not possible because the two House leaders are away in Israel.
Our guests this morning are totally familiar with the school funding crisis. They are Sara Spurlark, who is a member of the School Finance Authority, and State Senator Arthur Berman, who is the Democratic spokesman in the State Senate's Education Committee. Thank you for joining us this morning. Before we get into the details of Mayor Daley's plan, maybe we should talk for a moment about the School Finance Authority's rejecting the unbalanced budget. Even though you rejected it, I think there was a different tone this year. We didn't hear the School Finance Authority questioning the numbers, whether there was funny money in the budget, whether there was money hidden somewhere. Is it pretty much agreed that this is a real crisis and real dollars need to be found from an outside source?
That is my opinion, that the School Finance Authority and its consultants believe that the board has done a statesmanlike job of actually presenting a budget that is real. And they therefore could applaud what they've done and recognize that there is a major deficit.
So the problem isn't management?
Certainly not to the extent that it's been before, and I believe that a great many efforts are being made on the part of the school board to make adjustments in whatever management problems existed
Senator
previously.
Berman, while the problem may not be management, knowing the legislators, particularly downstaters, aren't you going to have a tough time convincing them that the problem still is not management of the Chicago school system?
Probably yes. But part of that is fair questioning, which we should do of everybody that benefits from state tax dollars. But I think the other thing is political. It sometimes is in vogue for downstaters to overly question, overly criticize Chicago. It just makes good local headlines.
Well, but nevertheless, when you're asking the state, as Mayor Daley is, to pick up $300 million by selling bonds for Chicago schools, do you think they're going to buy that?
Well, I think that the mayor's request for $300 million of extending credit by the state to provide $300 million on a borrowing plan for Chicago is really only part of the statewide picture. Chicago's only one school district that's in very serious trouble. We have over 100 school districts throughout the state that if they had to abide by the same rules as Chicago, they would be in line for the same borrowing, and they probably ought to be, because Chicago has to run on a different set of rules than every other school district in the state.
Because they had management problems in the past. I mean,
but other school
because the
districts
state
have
had to set that up because Chicago schools and Chicago politicians bankrupted the system.
We passed the bill in 1979. That's
Right.
14 years ago.
I was there.
That's right. So was I. 14 years ago, that for the last 14 years, Chicago Board of Education has had to have a balanced budget. Dick, out of 930 school districts in the state, Chicago is the only one. Now, I don't criticize that rule because I operate on a balanced budget. I think each of us do. But why should Chicago have that requirement and no other school district? We're not the only one that has problems. We're not the only one that has the kind of problems that an urban setting in the 1990s produces.
Is this the plan that Mayor Daley has put forward? The question comes to mind whether it benefits schools or politicians, because it seems crafted to get politicians through the next couple of years until a state income tax perhaps can be proposed after the '94 elections. I mean, is that the bottom line under this plan?
No, I don't think so. You're speaking to one senator who for many years, and very vocally the last 3 or 4 years, has called for responsible state action to increase the income tax in a progressive manner, because we have a very regressive income tax. It's a flat rate 3% income tax. So the millionaire pays the same percentage as the person that's making $15,000 a year. Outrageous. I have called for a more progressive income tax, more responsible funding by the state of education, and if my colleagues had followed my request, we wouldn't be sitting here discussing this on this day.
But the political reality is no one wants to raise taxes before the next statewide election.
No.
Isn't that true?
No. There's only one person who has taken a position that, and his position determines whether it goes or not. And that one person happens to be Governor Jim Edgar. He recognizes that the state has been short on funding of schools for many, many years. It hasn't been his creation, I don't suggest that. But he's the governor. He says no new taxes, so we have to come up. The mayor came up with an alternative. The mayor said on Thursday at his hearing that this is a plan, it is not cast in stone. If there are alternatives, let me hear them.
Well, I know one thing. I know teachers don't like his plan, and we'll be back right after these messages.
First of all, I don't think that the teachers should have to give up anything.
Morning, Joe.
Morning, Mrs. Jenks. Got a Western Union here for Mr. Jenks. Hope it's good news.
Oh, it is. It's that $1 a week life insurance for veterans that Tom and I called about.
$1 a week life insurance?
Uh-huh. It's a real good deal. And because Tom was in the service, I can get coverage, too, for just $1 a week.
You know, I could use some extra insurance.
Well, you were in the service, weren't you, Joe?
Well, yeah, but it was stateside. Army Reserves.
Doesn't matter. Says here, wartime, peacetime, active, or reserves. All branches of service.
Great. What do I do? Make a phone call?
Sure. Let me write down the number.
And if you're a veteran, age 45 to 75, or the spouse of a veteran, you'll want to write down this number, too, because now you can get in on a $1 a week term life insurance plan for veterans.
It's a great value for both veterans and spouses. Just $1 a week gets you the coverage you need at a price you can afford. And your benefits, well, they never go down. That's guaranteed. Plus, there's no medical exam to take, and there's no waiting period. Once you're covered, it's from the very first day for the full amount. Just call this toll-free number. Free information will be rushed to you by Western Union. You'll also get free membership in Veterans Vision Care, an eye care plan that saves you money. And once you're covered, you'll get a free subscription to Veterans Update, a newsletter filled with VA news, benefit updates, and more. $1 a week. It's one of the best ways going to give your family the extra security you want them to have. Call now.
Here, Joe.
I'm going to call as soon as I get a chance.
Use our phone. Call them now.
Veterans and spouses ages 45 to 75, call 1-800-637-9900. Veterans Life Insurance Company will send you a free information package immediately. There's absolutely no cost or obligation. Call 1-800-637-9900. Operators are standing by to take your call. That number again is 1-800-637-9900. Call now.
We have to find another way.
Teachers should be left alone a little bit. They're always saying that it's our fault and it's our problem.
We're back with Sara Spurlark, who's a member of the School Finance Authority, and State Senator Arthur Berman of Chicago, who is, I guess, the Democratic spokesman now, former chairman of the Senate Education Committee. Let me go back to the School Finance Authority. I want to try to get this answered for our viewers. I want to clear something up even for myself. August 31st is the deadline, as I understand it, for approving a balanced budget. According to testimony, if the School Finance Authority does not have a balanced budget by August 31st, it takes over the Chicago school system. Does it take over the school system? Does it then get involved in the budget process? And even if it takes over the school system, are you required to shut it down?
I don't think we're required to shut it down. I think there are a number of things that can be done to avoid a shutdown, and I don't think anybody wants that.
So that's a myth. I mean,
I believe that that's a myth, yes, that those who believe that. I think what we all want is that before August 31st, we be able to resolve this so that the Finance Authority does not need to take over the school system, because along with that comes another 3-year requirement for a balanced budget.
For 3 years.
Right. And that is not what any of us want. So we're all anxious to work with the mayor and the school board and the governor to try to and the unions to try to resolve this before August 31st.
So what alternatives does the School Finance Authority have if it has to assume budgetary control? I assume that's what you do.
Well, you know, the School Finance Authority does not get into the business of determining the budget. Our responsibility is to simply see to it that revenue and expenses balance. That's what our responsibility is now.
What do you do on August 31st, though?
But if we had to take over on August 31st, we'd be in the business of doing some of the same kinds of things that the governor is proposing now, in terms of trying to see where we could find enough concessions from all the various parties in order to present a budget that is balanced.
Would the Finance Authority simply cut the amount out of the budget that needs to be cut and then open schools a day or two later?
That's a possibility. It's not the only possibility. I think what the school board said when they brought this unbalanced budget to the Finance Authority earlier this week was that they didn't want to present the kind of doomsday budget that would have presented a balanced budget if you had cut all the programs that are absolutely essential, or many of the programs that everyone believes are very essential for well-educated youngsters. They could have presented a balanced budget.
Are the members of the Finance Authority willing to take that step, though?
I don't know. I can't speak for the other directors. I think it is a step that none of us want to take.
Well, by law, specifically, what do you have to do after August 31st? Senator, maybe you helped write the law. What does the School Finance Authority have to do by law as of August 31st?
Well, the control, the technical control shifts from the Board of Education.
The actual day-to-day control?
Well, there is a governing body. Right now, it's a Board of Education. Right. The Board of Education doesn't run the schools. There's a team of management and employees. Instead of the school board having the ultimate responsibility, it would shift to the School Finance Authority. What does that mean? It means that they have to see to it that schools are operating, hopefully open and operating.
Well, that means that, as Mayor Daley says, you have 3 weeks.
That's right.
3 weeks. Exactly. And the governor says, no special session. Not until we see what the unions are going to do in negotiations, not until we've got all the leaders signed on. The Democratic leaders will be back Monday, so that's not much of a big deal, but not until we have everyone signed on. Do you think there will be a special session in August, or has to be a special session this month?
I think there has to be one this month, and we have talked about this for many months. The board came down to the General Assembly this year back in March.
Right.
Previous years, they waited until June. This year, they were down in March and showed us what the numbers were. And the numbers, again, unprecedentedly, were very similar to what we're seeing today. It wasn't $400 million in March and only $100 million today. It was $400 million, and it still is. But the reason I say there has to be a special session in March is because, in August, a special session in August, is September 7th, September 8th is the opening of school. Why should the politicians sit around and talk in nice phrases and not address that deadline? The deadline is September 8th. The children should be in school on that day. And we should do everything necessary. If we have to go down to Springfield and put pressure on each other and the governor and the mayor and the unions and the board to move forward, it ought to be done.
Well,
that's our job.
It sounds as though what you're saying is that a special session really has to be called this week in time to get a deal crafted that can open schools by September 7th. You've got a lot to do. You've got to get riverboat gambling approved for Chicago. You've got to decide who's going to get the boats, who's going to own them, how that money is going to be distributed, and also approve a bond issue.
No, I don't think we have to do all that. We have to pass legislation that would authorize Chicago boats. We may have to specify how many there are, but we certainly don't have to indicate who's going to get those boats and how they're going to operate. We didn't do that when we created it for the other 10 downstate spots. We do have to do the bond issue. We have to make other changes that are in the plan to put the rest of the budget together. And some of that does require some legislative changes. But I've got to tell you that all of this could be done in a matter of days, a few days, in Springfield. But the putting it off, let me just say also, I think what has to also be done is for the board and the union not to look at September 8th as a target date, or even August 31st as a target date. They have to look at tomorrow, Wednesday, Friday, those kinds of target dates, because as the minority member in the Senate, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to see what has the union given up, what has the board done to better operate the schools before they're going to act on behalf of our children.
Is it fair for the governor to say, I'm not going to call a special session until I see what the union has done? Wouldn't it put more pressure on the union to get the state deal worked out, and then put the pressure on the teachers to say, and the other unions to say, are we going to be the bad guys who are not going to allow school to open?
You know, maybe we ought to hold the answer to that question and give him time to think about it. And I can assure you some teachers are thinking about it. Back after this message.
I think that anything that will benefit these children educationally will be fine.
Showtime.
Jordan drives again. Everyone's seen Michael Jordan like this. But now, Sports Illustrated gives you a closer look at one of sports' most celebrated heroes.
I'm just a country boy from North Carolina.
It's a fascinating new video called Michael Jordan Airtime. And it's free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated. The best way to get inside the action and intensity of sports every week. Jordan drives again. With every sentence, every picture, you'll get right into the heart-pounding excitement, the raw power, with action that unfolds right before your eyes. Call now, and we'll also take you inside Michael's remarkable world.
Let's watch Jordan. I think he's talking to Mutombo.
I told him I was going to shoot this with my eyes closed. As you know, I closed my eyes and shot it and made it. And I told him, welcome to the NBA.
Experience all the fantastic plays and incredible moves. The fun and the fury. It's a unique look at Michael Jordan's amazing talent.
The rim seems like a big old huge bucket.
And it comes with a full year of Sports Illustrated, including the swimsuit issue for only $1.39 an issue. Save over 52% off the cover price. Spend a year with Michael as you get into the life of the NBA's brightest star.
Hey, that was a good joke. Did you do that? That was pretty damn good.
Your video's free when you subscribe to Sports Illustrated, the magazine more than 24 million readers get into every week.
How does he do that? Oh, what a spin by Jordan!
Call now for your free Michael Jordan airtime video. For quicker delivery, use your credit card. Nobody plays basketball like Michael Jordan, and nobody gets into sports like Sports Illustrated. Get into it.
He's known for several years now this problem is coming. The day of reckoning is coming, and he's just trying to use it to get his casino plan through.
Welcome back to City Desk.
Senator Arthur Berman is with us, and we were about to have you answer a question, Senator.
I think that what has to be recognized is that the first step, and I say this based upon the discussions that I had all the way through the spring session of the General Assembly, the overwhelming majority, 3/4 of the General Assembly, comes from areas of Illinois outside of Chicago. They want to see what has the board done and what has the union done in tough, hard negotiating. And then I hope that we will, the legislature will respond and the governor will respond to what, build upon that. But I really think that that's where it has to come. The board and the union have to make some tough decisions, then come to us. And that's why I think the timeline is very short.
But you agree with what the governor's saying then? Let's find out what the unions are going to do and the board before we go down and try to craft a package.
Yes,
because if we don't have a package, we don't. I mean, if they're not going to make concessions, we don't have anything to talk about.
Well, we have something to talk about regardless of the concessions, but I think that the board and the union have to reach some very tough decisions first. It's their job first. Then, when we see what the package looks like, then I hope we will respond properly. But let me just tell you that, in my opinion, that has to be done very quickly.
Well, the union, of course, is saying the same thing from the other side. Jackie Vaughn and her people at the teachers union are saying what any good negotiator would say, we want to see what's in the pot. We want to see what the state's going to do. We want to see how much money is there, and then we'll decide how much we'll concede in order to open schools. And you do the same thing if you were at the table.
Regrettably, Jackie Vaughn and the board and I, as a citizen of Chicago, have seen what the legislature is willing to do, and that has been virtually nothing. We provided $84 million towards Chicago, of Chicago's money, to redirect its money. That's all the state of Illinois did this year. In fact, Chicago is going to lose a lot of money of state revenue because of the complications of the formula. So that's what Springfield has done so far.
Mr. Spurlark?
It won't do any good for us to have this standoff with each other. And that's what we have. If we say that the union is not going to say what it will concede until they find out what the state's going to do, and the state says they won't until they find out what the board and the union are going to do. We're just having a standoff, and we don't have any time for that standoff. So regardless of whether it's right or wrong, I think the political reality is, and I think that's what the mayor is trying to get into the act to push. The political reality is that we are going to have to go to the legislature with some real plans on the part of both the board and the union.
Let me follow up on that, though. You heard, or perhaps you didn't, but Doug Dobmeyer from the Public Welfare Coalition and others, Emma Lozano from Kosciuszko School, a number of other people have said, this is a plan to hold the schools hostage for casino gambling. The legislature went home for 3 weeks in May and could have done a lot of this back in May, could have worked on this, but they didn't. They went home. They didn't use this as a chip in the budget battle. They didn't do that. This comes now in a state of crisis so Mayor Daley can get his casino gambling bill through the legislature quickly. What's your reaction to that?
Well, Mike Koldyke, who's the chairman of the School Finance Authority, appointed by Governor Edgar and by Mayor Daley jointly, and who is an outstanding entrepreneur, businessman, he came in April to the legislature, sat down with many of us, talked about a borrowing plan, not just for Chicago.
But not based on riverboats.
That's right. And he was rejected out of hand. Out of hand. Now, but that's what happened. With a respected business person who came in with the solution. He was kicked out. Now, The only other ball game appears to be riverboat gambling. The mayor said he doesn't like it as a funding source for schools. I don't like it as a funding source for schools. What's our alternative?
But riverboat gambling was available in May, not 3 weeks before the schools have to be, the crisis
The
has
legislature,
to be settled.
you're right, the legislature didn't take action. And here we are.
And it wasn't pushed by the mayor or others in May. It wasn't pushed as a solution to a crisis. Now it is.
I'm not sure what the point is.
Well, it says that this is an opportunity, a ploy, if you will, to get riverboat gambling through.
Oh, no, riverboat gambling has been a matter of discussion for months, long before this. The only change has been that this is going to be the basis for a stated additional admission fee and the revenue source for a borrowing plan by the state. But I don't think it's any ploy. This is, Thursday's announcement by the mayor wasn't the first time we've talked about riverboat gambling in Chicago, Dick.
It seems to me that the plan also does something else for the mayor, though. Instead of putting forth a plan in which riverboat gambling funds a portion of education perennially, forever, this has a $6 admission fee, which goes to retire bonds, and then the schools are out of that riverboat gambling pot for a long time, and then Mayor Daley gets to keep the rest of the money that produces for the city. Doesn't that benefit him in that way?
You're only looking at a very small part of the total picture. The admission fee, $1 would go to the city, $6 would go to the Chicago Public Schools. That's
for 2 years.
Yes, but the question is, how long after that? That hasn't been decided. But the major portion of this is not the admission fee, is the revenues that generate from those boats. There you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, where does that go?
That goes to education in the state.
Well, it's not pledged to education.
Yes, it
Let's
is.
be fair. The proposal from the mayor is not pledged to education.
No, the revenue
gaming
from
tax
the revenue from the river boats would be the same revenue as the 10 downstate revenue sources, and that goes to education.
That's not pledged that way. And Mayor Daley and the municipalities are not giving it to education. Municipalities, Mayor Daley would reap about $150 million in gaming taxes per year, somewhere around there.
No, I'm talking about the same kind of revenue generating as downstate would go from Chicago to the state of Illinois to be siphoned back for education.
If the legislature says you've got to put it into education.
Well, that's
so
what
far,
Senator Berman is saying.
Okay.
But isn't the emphasis on the 2 years based upon the fact that it is everybody's expectation that 2 years from now, after the gubernatorial election, that there is a good possibility that the whole state of Illinois can benefit from some support for education via an increase in the state income tax?
We're out of time, but I would also point out that 2 years from now, it will be after the mayoral election.
As well as the
throw that in there.
Yes.
And so we are out of time. I'd like to thank our guests, Senator Arthur Berman, Sara Spurlark, Derrick Blakley, my co-host on the City Desk. Thanks for joining us. From all of us, you have a good day.